Hello, in this video I'm going to explain how you can prepare an image to be placed on a silkscreen layer. You can probably do it on other layers as well, but I haven't tested that. So I've chosen a couple of images that I downloaded from Google, and they are located right here. Okay, these are logos for ExpressPCB Plus. They're both images. One's a JPEG, and it's 400 by 400 in size, pixels. And the other one is an image PNG file with text in it. And it's pretty big. It's 4218 by 1114. So let's start with the text image here. So I am running Photoshop 2023 version 24.0.1, which is 2023. It's got a couple of bugs that are inherent in it, and I'll point out the one bug that seems to always hit me when I'm doing this. All right, we're going to start a new project, actually a new file. Click on New File. And since we're going to start with this text image, this thing is huge, but we're going to scale it down. I'm going to make it 600 by 600 pixels for the width and height. The resolution, 72. That should always be 72. I tried it with a higher resolution and it came out worse than 72. I haven't tried it with a lower resolution, however. You want the color mode to be RGB, 8-bit. And you want the background, which defaults to white, you want to set it to transparent. And the rest you can just leave as is. And I'm going to click Create. All right, here we go, our transparent background. So I'm going to rock on over to this guy, and we're going to pull in this text. There we go. I'm going to place it by pressing Enter. On the left side here, we can see that layer is shown. Right mouse click it, and go up and choose Duplicate Layer. You always want to duplicate your layers so that you don't blast the original. You can always get back to it. All right. Now the trick to working with images that contain text, and some images contain a picture as well as text, is you want to look at the text very carefully to see where the closed-in characters are. For example, the E in Express, it has the center of that E is boxed in. The P, the hole in the middle is boxed in, and this E is the same, this P and the letter B. Then on the bottom line you have this P. The trick to this, in making it work, bringing it into ExpressPCB, is you have to create leak points. Like, I don't know if you call it draining out or letting something leak into these holes so that they don't fill in completely. All right, we mounted this in a square so that it'll be easier to resize once it gets into ExpressPCB Plus. So I'm going to have to export this, or export it to a quick export PNG. Now in previous versions of Photoshop, that would be a file save as PNG. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to give it a name here. It's going to be the same as this name. I'm going to put square in there. Or 600 by 600, that's better. 600 by 600. All right, now if we come over to here, we'll see that we now have a square image it's 600 by 600 and it's a PNG as opposed to the original that was that weird shape. All right, so now let's pull it in. I'm on the top Silkscreen layer. I'm going to click on image, come over, click the left mouse button to place it. And this is the image that we want. Then I'm going to reduce the size of it, height and the width, which is easy now that it's a square. I just make them both the same. Let's make it 3.5 by 3.5. I think it needs to be a little bigger, huh? About 10.5 by 10.5. Still isn't big enough, is it? 30 by 30. All right, here we go. So it looks really good as the original PNG, but when we right mouse click it and choose convert image to polygon, we can see now that it's the right color, it's the right size. They did a pretty good job overall of converting this. However, you can see that the letters I pointed out earlier are filled in. So we have to create those leak points so that the holes will appear. So let's go back to Photoshop. And I'm going to use the pen tool over here to make these leak spots. So I'm going to zoom way in. Let's start. Here's the letter E. We're going to zoom in on that part. I'm going to make a leak slot right through here so that when it goes to fill in, it has a way to get to this closed-in area, and it being ExpressPCB's conversion. So now that I have the pen tool selected, I just want to zoom in there. And if you're not familiar with the pen tool, basically you can make shapes, custom shapes to surround an area. And these are all going to be square shapes, so they'll all have 4 sides. So the idea is to start a little bit above this area you want to chop and continue a little bit below to chop it. So I'm going to click like up here and make my first point. You can see that blue square right there. Come down here and make the second point. And then come over these squares coming across here, considering how much I've exploded this to 6,400%, I could probably just go over two of these squares and then come back up to this point. And when I'm clicking this, I'm not holding down the mouse. You just click a point, you lift up the left button, then you click the next point with the left button and lift it up, and so on and so forth until you make a path right back to the original first point, and that completes the loop. Once you have the loop completed, you right mouse click inside the square and choose make selection. You want the feather radius to be 0, and just copy with the settings I've got there on the screen. Then you click OK. Now it has selected that area. So all we have to do is delete it. Now here we're coming to the bug in version 2023 of Photoshop. You should just be able to hit the delete key and it'll delete what's selected. But sometimes it doesn't work. To make sure that it works every time, you want to come over here and you want to click on the select icon. By the way, every time one of these banner things comes up, my graphics card goes crazy and blacks my screen for a second. So you want to make sure that this has got the focus on the select. Then once that's got focus, you you hit the delete key on the keyboard, and it'll delete it. But in this case, it won't delete it because we have to right mouse click the layer that this is on. By the way, you'll notice that I'm working off a duplicate layer and I turned the eyeball off on the original. Make sure that the layer with the eyeball on, which is the one we're looking at, is selected. And then you right mouse click and you want to say rasterize layer. Okay, once it's rasterized, now I can hit the delete key and that section will delete. Now if I zoom out, and on the select menu there's a deselect. See right down here you can see that area is still selected, so I want to deselect it so you can see clearly. Now the E is opened up. Okay? So just for the heck of it, to expedite things a little bit, I'm going to choose Export Quick PNG again and replace the existing one that I made. In fact, I'm going to make a new name for it. I'm going to put PCB at the end of it so I know which one's which. I don't overwrite the original. PCB. Okay. Now we'll save that. Let me come back over to ExpressPCB. I'm going to Control Z a few times to get rid of all those stuff that was on there. Now let's bring that new image in. PCB, it's right here. 30 by 30. Okay. Now it's in the right place. Now if I right mouse click it and say convert image to polygon, you can see that that E is now opened up. It's not filled in like this E over here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do some slicing. I'm going to pause and I'll come back when this is done because you got the hang of it. You might want to watch the beginning section a second time too. Okay, I just finished all the edits in Photoshop. And let me zoom in one more time here. As you can see, I put a space on that E. I put a slot to separate that X and this P. I also put a slot on the P itself. That E, this P. It looks like I forgot the B. So let me hit the B. It's easy to miss these things. Okay, so we got that. It's going to come up here. All right, that one's got a gap there. Deselect this. All right, we're ready to export, so I'm just going to export this. Quick PNG, the PCB version, replace it. Come back over to this one. You can see the original one. And I wonder if I can just leave that on the screen and move this one up. It was 30 by 30. So let's put another image on here. It's going to be the new and improved version. Right mouse click it and say convert image to polygon. Now you can see that cleaned it up pretty good. There's the before and after. I think that ExpressPCB did a real good job on it. That's totally acceptable. You have to do a little work, but it works good. All right, let's see what we can do with the other image. And By the way, you don't want to choose File Open to open up that. You want to drag it into the current 600 by 600 project so that it resizes it. Let's bring this guy in here. Okay, this one's only 400 by 400, so it doesn't quite fit. But that's okay because it'll get trimmed by ExpressPCB when it converts it. So I'm going to place that on the mat. Let's just see what this one does as is. Since it's already a square, let me just do the original 400 by 400 and bring it in. So I'm going to click Image, place it there. Let's get this guy. And I don't know what he should be, maybe the same thing, 30 by 30. Yeah, that's good. Bring him up here, right mouse click, convert image to polygon. And that looks terrible. So, this one here we might have to do a little manipulating on. So let's come back. I'm just kind of doing this as I go. Since only one color can be used in the Silkscreen layer, or any other layer for that matter, we're going to have to reduce this to one color. So this should be easy. We got to get rid of the blue and make it transparent. And I'm going to change the white to be yellow instead of white. I found that yellow converts better than white or black. It's kind of strange, but it works. I'm going to put a rectangle around the center part just to preserve that. And once I select it, I can use the arrow keys to kind of move it down to get it a little better. If you pull down the select, no, you don't even have to do that. Just right mouse click in here and say layer via copy. And you'll see on the right side here, it created a layer. I'm going to call it traces. And if we turn off that layer, you can see that what I selected is now in a new layer in there. It's laying on top of the original. So then I can probably do a magic wand on this blue. Oops, I got to deselect what's already selected. Do a magic wand on the blue. Forgot to select, on the right side, select the layer that has the whole thing on it, this blue. And now we magic wand it. And it's going to get rid of all the blue, hopefully. Oh, yeah, I got to right mouse click and rasterize the layer, then hit delete. Now we pretty much got that covered. I'm going to deselect. I probably want to round these, get rid of the blue on the corners there. So to do that, I'm going to select the eraser tool over here. And I'm going to zoom in here. Up top here, you have the size. It's set to 1 pixel. We're going to make it a little bigger here. That might be a little too big. Okay, that looks about right. So I'm on the traces layer right now, and I'm getting rid of the blue corners on it. With the eraser tool. Okay, now we've got both layers on. And it looks pretty good. However, we we still have two colors. So we want to get the two colors down to one. We probably want to get rid of all the white in the middle and make all these squares and the traces visible for the icon. I can't think of any other way to do it. You can't really make boxes because the box would be the same color as the inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate this traces. So I turned off the eyeball on the other layer. So now I'm just looking at the traces layer. And if we magic wand this guy and hit delete in all the white areas, click delete, and then I can select the selection tool here, this guy there, oops, and then just make a box around this garbage on the outside. Get rid of all that. I'm hitting the delete key to get rid of those. Okay, now we're left with the pattern there. Now I'm going to deselect, bring the other layer back into visibility, get rid of the traces layer. We probably want to get rid of this whole center part here. So let me just select it and delete that part. I want to select just this portion and delete it. Okay, that leaves the pins, put the traces back. So that's probably going to be the best that we can do. And so now, if I click on my colors and I change this either 255, 255, 0, or FF, FF, 00, depending on which way you want to get pure with yellow. Now we have that. Then we go to the paintbrush. This is by default probably set to your gradient tool. You want to right mouse click on the gradient tool and select the paintbrush, paint bucket tool it's called. And with that activated, we have focus on the right side here to all these outside white things. So if we just color all those yellow by clicking them with the paintbrush. And then I want to switch focus to the traces layer and click all those. To color them yellow. Then we want to export, quick PNG, and we want to change this to be, this is the logo icon, I guess I'll name it icon, ICON, for the PCB. So now when we come back into here, we want to bring in the logo icon and see if it looks any better. So I'm going to click on image, and we're going to place it over here. This is the one right here, the all yellow one. And we can change that to 30 and 30. Then convert it to a polygon. And there we go. That's that. That's the closest you're going to get because you only have one color to work with. So anyway, that's my method of doing it. If anybody else has another method that's better than this one, please make a video and email it to me or something. I'll find it somewhere. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope it's helpful for people who want to add images to their PC boards.